Hello and welcome to Connected, episode 208. I'm your host, Stephen Hackett, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host. Co-host number one. Well, I don't want to rank y'all. Co-host A, Michael Hurley.
Yes, A is still a ranking. If you say A,
well, you don't know what I'm gonna call Federico.
It could be
yet.
A star or A plus or whatever you call it.
Co-host A plus, Federico Vitici.
Hi, but it still means I'm more important than Mike because I have a plus. So if you wanted to have neutrality, you should have gone with co-host A and co-host 1. That way, both are equal.
That's true.
Yeah.
You want what you're saying is we want co-host neutrality.
Yes,
I think the FCC killed that.
What we're fighting for. Yes. Hello, Stephen.
Hi. We should say the show, it's brought to you this week by Squarespace Simple Contacts and Linode. I usually do that earlier.
Do you want to rank the sponsors too?
But then, no, I don't.
Okay.
And then I got distracted by the ranking of the co-hosts. So this is really not my finest hour, guys, just to be honest. So we do a show each week. Mm-hmm. We usually start it with follow-up, but this is a very busy week. So we've paused the follow-up train.
Let's eschew it.
Eschew it.
Goodbye, follow-up. Let's put it in a cannon and shoot it out the window. See you later, follow-up.
Follow-up cannon. In my mind, that's like a big like a T-shirt cannon. Is that what you're thinking of? Like you just shoot follow-up into the audience.
So here's something that's interesting to me. T-shirt cannons for live shows, just as like an idea.
Okay. So as both senior vice president of live events for Relay FM LLC and the guy who deals with the insurance, I'm just going to go and say no to that on those two different levels.
But we already have the insurance, though. So, look, if
that's like saying,
if you pay for insurance,
I'm wearing a seatbelt,
and you don't get the opportunity to use it,
let me hit this wall.
Then, what's the point in having the insurance?
That's not how.
Sure, it is.
That's right, though. It's like when Nintendo sends you an email and they tell you have points you need to redeem and download free games, otherwise they're going to expire.
Then you go and download some games you don't want because you got the points.
So it's like with insurance, you just go and get hurt. Otherwise, why do you keep paying?
Think of how much money we spend every year for forever on insurance, and we never get the opportunity to fire a T-shirt cannon.
I'm just saying we should just throw T-shirts in people's faces, and I mean they wouldn't get hurt with a T-shirt cannon. Can you get hurt with cloth in your face? I don't think so.
Need to build a challenge coin shooter, though. We talked about that.
A challenge cannon. That's a real challenge.
Challenge cannon.
That's a real challenge.
That would hurt.
Yeah, that
now
one's
a
bad.
coin in your face shot by a cannon, that would hurt.
Yeah, listen to this thing. You don't want that in your
I don't
face.
think it would kill you though, right? Because there's that Mythbusters episode where they work out about the coin from the Empire State Building, right? That if you dropped it,
a penny,
it wouldn't
though.
kill you. Yeah, but still, this is a coin, but it's going to be it's not going to hit terminal velocity from this cannon.
You don't know how good my cannon is.
Oh, so you did buy one then?
Well, I'm building one out of spare EMAC parts.
Have we currently spent about the same amount of time we would have spent on follow-up just talking about cannons?
No, follow-up is gone, man.
Yeah, the cannon's really powerful.
It's just paused. It's not dead.
It's never
going
to come back.
So an interesting thing happened last week. I'm on my computer. I'm working, and all of a sudden, iMessage is filled with images that seem to be real images of next week's iPhone and next week's Apple Watch.
Promo images shot from a promo cannon to the internet, caught by 9 to 5 Mac. I think is what happened. That must be the explanation, right? How they got the images. They were shot out of a cannon.
Is this a new obsession of yours? Cannons, shooting things?
It started about 10 minutes ago.
Okay. So it's very new to your brain. Okay.
It's very fresh. It's new and fresh.
So we've all seen these images. There's two iPhone 10 style phones depicted in different sizes. We're assuming the iPhone 10s and the 10s Plus.
I want to just throw a conspiracy theory in straight away.
Oh, no.
We assume it's
God.
a 10 and a bigger phone, right? What if it's a 10 and a smaller phone?
Yeah. Oh. I don't know.
I don't believe this. I just want to put it out in the world, you know. I believe it's the 10 and the 10s and the 10s Plus. But I just wanted to put out into the world the idea of there's your SE, you know, it's there right in front of you, right in front of your face. You missed it the whole time.
Well, the person who found this phone seemed pretty convinced.
Here's
that
the thing.
This is the,
So I also want to talk about that, right? So 9to5Mac found these images, right? And then the images, we've seen them. I mean, look, I think we're all in agreement that these are like spot on, right? Like this is the stuff. Is everyone in agreement?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
But they also seem super confident about the names, right? Like iPhone XS. But it's not on the image.
Yeah.
And now, I'm just going to say, right, like if I am 9to5Mac, I would be less confident about the name. Like they seem to put those two things together as like...
Well, you don't know what the URL was or what the file name was, which is where...
Right, but a file name could be a code name.
No, I don't think so.
All right. So this kind of feeds into my theory that I already shared with you guys about how these images came to be. So my theory is that 9to5Mac doesn't want to confirm why they are so sure about the name, because confirming the name, this is just my theory, confirming the name would tell people the method that was used to find these images. And my theory, again, I have no idea if this is what Mr. Rambo and the 9to5Mac team did. Also an excellent job, by the way. This is like exactly what people expect from 9to5Mac. And I've seen people say, oh, this is so wrong for people who work at Apple, but publications that deal with rumors and scoops exist in all kinds of industries, and this is perfectly normal.
It's like, this probably isn't the right word, but I'm proud of them. I don't know if proud is the right word, but like this is what they're here for, right? Like this is what they are here for, is to do stuff like this, and they keep breaking down these little areas and finding this information. If someone at Apple thought that it was a good idea to put these images somewhere that they could be publicly accessed, then I think it's all fair game.
Yeah. Anyway, my theory is that these images were uploaded as a test to a URL that Mr. Rambo started monitoring months ago, possibly using one of those link monitoring services or his own script or stuff like that. Because Apple tends to share assets and media on its website, whether it's the assets for the web pages or assets for the newsroom, the PR material, essentially. They tend to follow a usual naming structure, these file names and these paths for assets on the website. And so it wouldn't surprise me if Mr. Rambo started monitoring one of the possible URLs months ago. And eventually the link became active. He got a notification for the iPhone XS and Apple Watch Series 4. He saw the names in the file name because that's the link that he started monitoring. And that's why they're so sure about the name. Because Apple doesn't... It's not like Apple is going to upload an asset to the website for the iPhone X and call it iPhone Michael. No, the name is going to say iPhone.
And again,
X,
I want to say, I believe that they are correct, like that it is the iPhone XS and that it was probably found in the exact way that you say. I just wanted to pose the question, right? That they are super confident about the images because they've got them, but they don't have branding on them, but they seem very confident. They're like, this is the name. So it's just it's interesting to me that you would have that level of confidence, because what they've not said, because it's clear that they couldn't get it, is what the differences between the naming, because there's probably a difference, but it's one image, right? And it's the XS line, but then probably is the XS something, right? Is the bigger one we would expect.
I have a request also, and this is so unlike me, but I don't think I can pretend any longer. Can I just say XS, an iPhone X?
So I'm gonna say right now, I have been firmly in the 10 camp for a while.
Literally nobody
I think at
in
the
my
point
life
where they put two letters together, I think we're good at this point. If you want to start calling it XS, I think that's
when I
fine.
call it the iPhone 10 or iPhone 10 in Italian, nobody, none of my friends ever understood what I meant.
How do you say X in Italian?
If I said X.
X, yeah. That's nice. iPhone X.
Everybody, everybody calls it the X. And everybody who saw the rumors asked me about the XS. So it's just, I feel like I'm pretending.
Apparently the Roman numeral S means half, which is quite interesting. But
What?
Yeah. So
Where?
this is somebody contacted me and told me this, that in Roman numerals S means half, because we were talking about it on Upgrade, right? So
Never seen this myself, but okay.
I had never seen it before either, but I had somebody contact me to tell me this. I'm now trying to find this tweet.
Yeah, funtrivia.com, so I'm sure it's as accurate. It says S equals 7 or 70. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so.
If only we knew someone who was Roman.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused, because I've never seen the...
You're Italian.
He lives in Rome.
Yeah, but it's different. Like, it's different, right?
I'm not an ancient Roman.
You see,
is
I don't
what
know.
you're saying.
I mean, you're not as old as me, but you're getting up there.
I'm not the son of the Roman Empire.
So yeah, I had somebody say to me, the Roman numeral S means half. So
yeah, Wikipedia says 70. So I'm going to go with Wikipedia.
So should we? I'm not going to put this person on blast. I'm not going to,
So what you're saying is this is the iPhone 80. If we were to follow,
basically my point is at the point where they put two letters together, where clearly S is at least an ambiguous Roman numeral, I think that it's fine to say XS now.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
It's not the name of it.
But I don't care. I just don't care now.
It's
I mean,
a bad
I'm going to
name.
keep calling it the 10S, but I'm not going to correct people for calling it XS.
Oh, yeah. Well, correcting people, you just come across as a jerk. Like that, you should never.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
I will correct the two of you because
when
my
I
job
meant
on the show is to
I
keep
meant
you accountable.
Federico.
Because you're a jerk.
When I said correct people, I meant specifically Federico. I'm not going to correct him if he calls it the XS.
Okay, thank you.
I'm curious about the S name. Are you guys surprised that the S is back? Because they skipped it, last year? They went from the 7 to the 8, and then it seems like we're going to get a 9, so like the 8S may not exist. Like, I'm a little surprised to see it back, because I think people who know don't do this, but just regular consumers just buy a phone every 2 or 3 or 4 years. There is that idea the S is like not a big upgrade, and I was surprised to see the branding come back. What do you got? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I'm surprised. I thought they were going to just keep the iPhone 10 branding and just basically like treat it like a car and say 2018 edition or something.
Yeah, me too.
Kind of like they did with the iPad Pro. It didn't get like iPad Pro 2 when they did the update last year. They just call it, the second generation or 2017 model, stuff like that. So I'm surprised they're going to say S. I guess that with the iPhone, they still think they need like a precise change in the name to tell people this is the new one.
Yeah, that's why
that
I didn't think that they were going to do the like iPhone 10 2018 thing, because I think it was too difficult when people were trying to buy phones.
Yeah.
But I didn't think they would go to S. I thought they would come up with something else. Like, I didn't think it was going to be just iPhone 10, but I am surprised that it's 10S. Like, just because the letters together, it looks awkward to me.
It looks like a t-shirt size.
Well, that's what I find hilarious. Like, if let's say they go with Plus, right? It's like the iPhone Extra Small Plus, which is just
extra small plus.
There is a horror in me where it's going to be where I think that there's like their potential for iPhone XS and iPhone XL. I'm really scared about the potential for that. I would hate that so much.
Well, now XL would be a Roman numeral, and that would mean 40 because it's 10 before. L means 50 minus 10 in Roman numerals. Right. So the iPhone XL will be the iPhone 40.
I'm still concerned about saying categorically that S isn't a Roman numeral, just for the follow-up that we might get.
Well, now it's decided. We can retroactively apply that to all the monuments around Rome. Whenever you see an S, it means that
again.
70
I will
somewhere.
go back to Wikipedia as Stephen did. I can confirm what Stephen says. It says S is 70. R is 80, N is 90. I thought you were a Roman.
I've never seen these numerals.
Or maybe you just didn't know, and now like the scales are like going to fall from your eyes, and you'll be walking around town, and you have like a new appreciation for how old everything is.
Mm-hmm. It's like the meme with the lady and all the numbers and the graphs around her.
But they're just all letters. It's not numbers. Just letters flying around everywhere. Gold. Excited about gold?
Yeah, kind of. Especially if it's like a black and gold combination, not like
They're gonna do all black now. They're never gonna go white
Yeah.
again because it just is weird, right? With the small bezels, but black and gold sounds good. We're gonna do some predictions later, and I'm kind of spoiling something for myself, but I want Apple to make a clear case because I want the gold one, right? Because I think it will look nice, but I will never see the gold because I put my iPhone in a case.
Okay.
And I think it's a shame that I would have a beautiful color, but can't ever look at it because I have a case that covers the entire phone. Like I just get a hint of it at the bottom or whatever. I would like a clear case.
Or maybe the answer is that you get a what's the name? A pop socket made of gold.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
yeah, we could go for that instead. And like I know, I'll say before I understand like other companies make the cases, but I just have always liked Apple's cases. Like I like the silicone case that they make. Like a lot of the other cases that I found, they're way slicker, and I'm not a big fan of that. But I might change my mind. Like I will always get an Apple case to begin with because they know how to make them. But then maybe I would swap to a Spigen clear case or something later on.
Yeah, I feel like I always end up getting the Apple accessories, like cables and cases and covers, because at least I have someone to blame. Like when it breaks, I can go to the Apple store and get in an argument with a guy.
That's a really good point. Like if I have a case on my phone and I drop it and it breaks, so like it's like, look, you did this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do.
This is your fault.
At least you can put a face on the tragedy. Yep. If you just get a random case from Amazon, it's not like you cannot blame Amazon and go to the Amazon warehouse.
Is it also terrible to say that I want the Apple logo on the case? Is that bad? I don't know if that's bad.
No, I think a lot of people do.
No, it's not.
Like I just feel like fair. I spent all this money on the phone. Like it's a brand, right? And I kind of want to have the Apple logo on my case. Like I don't, and I know you can get, and I hate those cases with the holes cut in them. That makes me just so mad.
Like that.
Yeah. I hate that design. Yeah. I really hate that.
Can we talk about a tragedy real quick?
Yeah.
We're talking about iPhones and cases.
What'd you do?
This time last year, almost exactly this time last year, I broke a 7 Plus and had to have the screen replaced like a week before the keynote.
Oh, right? I remember that. Yeah.
I actually don't. What is the...
It was not...
Really?
It was not great. So I did not break the screen on my iPhone 10, but I did break the back a little bit. It's a small crack.
Did you?
Yeah, I dropped it yesterday. Oh! I didn't tell anybody. I want to tell you on the show.
No.
There's a crack now in the glass that runs in parallel with where it meets the steel band, like sort of across from the camera.
You just ruined your resale like a week before.
Yeah, so that's why I fixed the 7 Plus, and now I'm looking at this phone and like the screen is scratched just to...
Did you not get Apple Care?
No, I did. The screen is scratched to pieces, and now I have this crack running in the back. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this because
that sounds normally, like you could keep it and then just like Apple Care it and then sell it after you get.
That's
the new
my thought. Yeah. It is purely. It's like purely aesthetic. So, but last year, like the screen was shattered. I was like, I can't use this phone. I need to fix it.
Yeah, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my iPad, right? Because my iPad's all broken. I don't think I said it. Yeah. I spoke about this on this show, but like I cracked the entire screen is ruined. Like there are cracks and they're getting bigger all over. Like soon pieces are going to start falling out.
You should put a picture of that in the show notes.
But this is the thing, I can't get a picture of it that shows it. I can't photograph it because when you got the screen on, you can't see it, and when the screen's off, I can't get the light to hit it properly. So like I've tried to take pictures, but it just doesn't show it. But I have like 2 cracks that go from corner to corner, and like all of the edges are all cracked up too. It's bad.
So my dilemma is normally I sell my existing phone to help like bankroll because I buy phones unlocked, which seems like reasonable, right? And then just like in 5 or 6 years, I'll buy an example of this phone for the collection. But this year I've been thinking, so my wife has an iPhone SE that doesn't seem to be going anywhere as a product line. And like it's starting to show its age a little bit. And she doesn't want a new phone. She wants something the size of the SE, but I kind of been thinking like maybe I let her try the 10 for a little while, but I don't want to give her a busted 10. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just wanted to share that briefly. I felt like I needed to confess.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
At least you didn't totally break it, and you have Apple Care. Like, I have no Apple Care on my iPad, so like, I mean, I can't do anything. So Apple have that recycle page on their website, right, where you can trade in stuff. So I went over the page the other day, right, and I was clicking through it, and it's just like, oh, I wonder if they give me any money for it. I thought, like, oh, let me see what it's worth if you don't, like, if you say, because it asks you, like, is the screen okay? And I'm like, yep. And it's like, okay, we'll give you, like, say it's like £350 or whatever. Like, trade it in for your gift certificate right now. And it's like, okay. So let me see what the difference is if the screen's broken. So I went through the whole thing, right? So I answered all the questions. And it's like, calculate how much this is worth. And then it just popped up and said, here are some options to recycle your iPad. There's no money. It's just like, oh, we're not going to take that from you. You can recycle it if you want. And it's like, oh, man, okay. So I don't know, when I replace it, I'm just going to recycle it, I guess, because there's nothing that could be done with it. It's a shame.
Now, I told you guys how I've been selling my iOS devices for the past few years. Like the ones that I don't use anymore.
Just sell them to John?
No. So what I do is, my mom, she works in a public office, right? It's like kind of like the DMV, but less terrible. And of course, Viterbo is a small town, and it's very possible that, whenever someone goes to this office, my mom knows this person. So what I've been doing is, when it's time to sell my iPhone or my iPad, I tell my mom that I'm putting them on the market. And so when someone she knows goes to her office, she tells them that, my son is selling an iPhone or an iPad, and then I give her a commission, like 10 or 15%. So she's incentivized to sell my stuff, and she also gets a commission. And that's why I've been getting rid of all my iPhones and iPads, using my mom as a middleman, essentially.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
we do a similar kind of thing
really well.
with Adina sells my stuff on eBay.
See, that's kind of like the same system.
Yeah.
Just a little more Italian, if you will, but it works.
I will say, I mean, I'm not trying to say that you're a bad person or whatever, but I just let her keep the money. Because if she's going through,
she insists that I should keep it because she's my mom.
That's fine. Then the commission, you're more than you're very kind that way, I think. But yeah, my feeling is like, well, if you didn't sell it, it's just going to stay in my office forever. So if you go through the hassle of selling it, you can just keep whatever. You can just keep it.
Yeah, that was my reasoning too, but she insisted, like, I don't want all your money. So I was like, okay, let's reach a compromise. You can keep a commission and sell my stuff. I'm happy, you're happy. And the system has been working really well. There's like this guy who keeps buying my iPads for some reason. I'm not sure what he's doing with all these iPads,
He's keeping
honestly.
them. He's building
I kind of don't want to know. I feel like I don't want to know. But yeah, it works really well. Personal eBay. That's.
I have some follow-up.
Wow. I thought, what happened?
The chat room.
Someone shoot it back in again from another cannon?
Are we talking about Roman numerals?
We are.
Again?
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
This is going to go
If
on
you guys
forever.
look in the chat room.
This is going to become a thing now. Okay. Fine.
So we looked the Wikipedia article up, and apparently we were looking at the Middle Ages section, according to Kate. But if you scroll further down, S shows up as half.
There we go. So everyone was right and wrong.
Yes.
So
we were right, and your source was right. Everyone is right. Everyone gets a prize.
S is half then.
So it's iPhone 10 and a half?
Yeah, so this is what this guy said to me, who I will now, his name was Stephen, so I will now say,
what?
It wasn't you. But so his point was, 10 and a half kind of makes sense. Like, the S makes more sense than ever, because it is like 10 and a half.
Maybe that's why they always used S.
No, S is for speed.
It was initially, but it didn't stand for speed in the 6S.
Didn't they always, didn't for a while they make it stand for something and then stop doing that?
No, just the 4S, they said it stood for speed.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe the 3GS. I don't know.
That stood for speed.
Anyways,
it was like,
I don't know what we're talking about anymore. New phones are going to be gold. We think the name is 10S. That name is problematic. The gold looks pretty. Mike wants a clear case.
Yep.
I think we summed it up.
So that's just, you should have just skipped all the way ahead to the summary and you would have got through this entire thing.
I'll put that as its own chapter.
You should start doing that for every topic. Just provide like a 2-sentence sum up.
I don't think so. I think that defeats the purpose of having a podcast.
Like a TLDL, too long didn't listen.
Well, it's like you're the minute keeper, like Steven's keeping the minutes, and you can assign action items at the end of the topic.
So I have a motion to read our first sponsor. Do I have a second? Mike, you may proceed reading the first sponsor read.
Today's episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Make your next move with Squarespace. They will let you easily create a website for your next idea or project. And with the ability to grab a unique domain name, take advantage of award-winning templates and more, they can be the home for your next website. No matter what type of site you want to make, Squarespace has all of the tools to make it happen. And they have 24/7 customer support in case you need help with anything. They want to support you whilst you put your next project online. Whether you want to make a blog, a portfolio, a site for your business, a site for your band, a site for an event, maybe your wedding. We made a wedding website with Squarespace, or maybe you want to have an online store. They have all of the functionality and more to allow you to do that. You don't need to install anything or patch anything or upgrade anything. Squarespace takes care of everything for you, so you can just get on with making your thing awesome. You can go and try out Squarespace for free. Just go to squarespace.com/connected. They have a free trial, no credit card required. You can build the whole thing, make sure it's right for you. You can even have other people come and look at it as well. And then when you decide you want to put your website live to the world, you can just start with a plan. Their plans start at $12 a month, but you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain by using the code CONNECTED at checkout. That is squarespace.com/connected and the code CONNECTED to get 10% off your first purchase. We thank Squarespace for their support of this show and Relay FM. Squarespace, make your next move, make your next website.
So alongside the iPhone leaks was a singular image of the Apple Watch Series 4. So it shows up in what looks like the aluminum gold finish.
Yeah.
It has a bigger screen, which we'll come back to. The digital crown has now just a red ring as opposed to the whole thing being red, like on the current cellular models, which I don't know about y'all, but even after a year, I still really dislike the red cap on the digital crown.
Well, I've never seen one myself besides, the one on the wrist of my American friends.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, 4 in Roman numerals means 13, so that's interesting.
What?
Yeah.
That's not confusing. Why did that
It's
happen?
on Wikipedia.
So the Apple Watch Series 13 has been revealed.
It's weird that their whole empire collapsed. So strange.
Yeah.
You got an extra, well, it's like a mic opening in between the crown and the button, and then you have the side button, which I've pointed out before, but has the saddest product name. Apple gives names to everything, and the Apple Watch side button is just named side button,
sad.
all
it's not
lowercase.
Sad.
It is sad.
Of course,
it's a side button. What you gonna call it?
Side button.
It's such a lazy. Doesn't the iPhone 10 isn't that called side button now too? I think it is.
It may be. But I bet it has a capital letter. I don't know.
Look, the side button just minds its own business. All right, it's just a side button. It doesn't want to have anything to do with a crazy terminology that Apple uses. It says I'm a side button, and I'm proud of being a side button.
Stop trying to take that away from me.
Do you remember when it used to pull up your grid of friends? That was a terrible idea.
Can I ask you guys something?
The side button has seen things.
Can I ask you something? Right. I can't see personally from these images how the display is bigger.
Well, it doesn't show you proportions compared to the...
No.
Are you saying that you don't see how it extends all the way to the edges? Okay,
it doesn't.
That I can see.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's still a bunch of space that, like, I know it's not going to go super edge to edge, but, like, I'm looking at pictures on Apple's website, and they're, like, I mean, the corners of these complications seem to, like, go as far as the existing ones. Like, I'm willing to believe that they've done this, but I don't personally feel like these images totally confirm that. Like, the scale still seems roughly the same to me.
Yeah.
Like, or at least the change is small. Like, looks like it goes about as far. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but, like, I find it, I don't know if that is like a definite confirmation unless somebody's got like some calipers out and worked this out, but I don't know.
I don't know. It looks thinner and kind of, I don't know. You could tell something's different. But
it's definitely different, right? But like again, like the thinner thing, I'm not going to bank on that until they say it, because you can do a lot with product photography.
Yeah, I remember when they released the current generation of iMac, you know, the no optical drive, real thin at the edge, and like Phil Schiller didn't want to turn it all the way around to show you like, oh, it's 5 millimeters thin on the edges. Never mind, there's a huge like hump in the back of it where he put all the computer.
And was it the iPhone 7 where they like photoshopped out the camera bump?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
come on, guys.
Like again, it's like I think we can look at these images and we can draw some potential conclusions from them. That maybe the screen is bigger because I guess it kind of looks like that, or maybe it's thinner because it kind of looks like it might be. But I don't know if all of this stuff is confirmed yet.
And the rumor is like 15% larger display, according to Zach's article. So that may be like within the realm of like, it's kind of actually hard to tell in a mock-up. Or this is not a mock-up, but in a product imagery. And maybe you've got to hold it or put it on your wrist to really, really see the difference. Because, like, I mean, if you hold your Apple Watch now under a bright light, you can see where the display ends and you have, like, the black bezel. Like, there's some room in there, but I don't think this is going to be as, like, breathtaking as the iPhone 10 was, or even, like, the 10.5-inch iPad compared to the 9.7. I don't see this being as...
I don't know if this is something you would look at and be like, oh, it's got an edge to... Like, I don't think you would see it as much, especially because the major color in UI is black, right? So, like, I don't think a lot of stuff really shows off the screen anyway in full because it was predominantly black. So, which is to make it to look like it all fades together anyway. I mean, that's what it's OLED after all. But
so, like right now with the Apple Watch, you have a little bit of an inset. So if you run your fingers over it, the screen is flat and then curves over the edges, and the text and imagery doesn't go all the way to that angle change. And so maybe it's just anywhere the screen is flat, you can now have text or imagery or whatever. And I haven't measured this, but maybe that's the 15%. Like, I think you're right. I don't think unless you really like look at this thing all day and have it side by side, most people just walking on the street aren't going to notice this difference, which is fine. Like, the watch doesn't. They talked about this on the talk show this week. The watch is a weird product that like you don't want to get really smaller, but you want it to be thinner maybe, but not like physically smaller. And you don't want it to get bigger either. They're kind of locked into like the size of the watch, and so there's only so much you can do in a product like this as opposed to a phone or a tablet where you have much freer reign because it's not designed to be wrapped around someone's wrist.
So let's address the elephant in the room. So there's a watch face that we've never seen before, right? There's a watch face we've never seen before in this image. Is that ugly?
It's ugly and I want it. It's like
I appreciate that.
It's like
right?
it's like junk food.
Yes.
It's unhealthy, but I want
because
it.
you want 8 complications, right? You know,
Yes,
or 9, however many there are. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 9 complications on this thing. Like, if you're gonna wear a computer on your wrist, you want the maximum amount of information. Otherwise, what's the point in wearing the computer?
I do. Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah,
I always felt
my...
that way. I think this has been a common complaint over the last 4 or 5 versions of watchOS, is that you couldn't get enough information on the screen. There was always something else that you had to lose, right? So even if this is just one watch face, which is like the complication face, like that's the one that if I was wearing the Apple Watch, that's what I would want. Like, I would want to bring up as much information as possible, so I could actually utilize the computer that I've chosen to wear. But it is ugly.
Yeah, Dieter Bohn at The Verge had a tweet that really cracked me up. It said, "This watch looks great. The watch face looks like World of Warcraft." And he has 2 screenshots side by side building his case. And it's hard to unsee.
It's too much. It's way too much, but it's kind of the point in a way.
I think it's interesting to see what Apple will do in terms of asking developers to update their complications. I want to bet that the one in the top left, so I think that's the timer one, right now developers can use that kind of complication, but it's a circle, and I think they can use a circle that progressively fills with, as you complete things throughout the day, for example. I want to bet that the API doesn't really change, so that they can still use the same API, fill the circle, only there's a new display option that instead of a circle, it's going to be a line. So considering that, we've seen developers really not spend much time working on their watch apps. Some of them actually pulled their watch apps. I think the more Apple can do to let developers have new display options for complications without asking them to redo the entire thing from scratch, I think if they can come up with a way to make it easy for developers, they're going to do that. But also...
Yeah, I'll call attention real quick to Benjamin Mayo. I saw him tweet this a couple of days ago. Apple Watch complication data is provided as rendering agnostic templates. What this means is a developer can say, I want a progress ring with this text and it's 70% full, and then the operating system displays it. Perfect. So you don't design it, you just give some parameters.
You just provide the data to fill the
So there's totally no developer work needed to show these complications differently if they're just that.
That's good.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure, none of this extra complication stuff will make it to the Siri watch face because Apple is investing on the shortcuts stuff for the Siri watch face, which, by the way, none of it has been working for me on watchOS 5. I have a bunch of iPhone apps that offer shortcuts, both on iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch in theory, but they don't show up on the watch at all. You need to enable a developer setting if you want to see them. But in theory, the system should be able to suggest them to you, which has been interesting, quote unquote interesting, because in theory, we're supposed to be working on a review of this stuff. So, I'm excited about this watch face. I think I'm going to use it, even though I really don't like the analog clock. I'm not an old person. I don't want to see, hands moving in a circle
to be an old
for my time.
To want to have that just out of fun.
You're an old spirit in a young body, Mike. So I don't need the classic watch face, but if this is the only way to get 9 complications on my wrist, then I'm gonna use it, and whatever, it's fine. But I want this for the modular watch face. Like I want to have a grid of complications and a little time in the corner. I want to have like 7 complications on the modular face.
It would
and then a little time.
Boggle my mind if they didn't do this for the modular watch face. Because you've made the modular not as modular as another one then, at that point. And then you'll get what you want, won't you?
Yeah, totally. Exactly. We have real-time follow-up that we need to mention on the show.
What happened to the Canon? Why will nobody respect the Canon?
Follow-up is now more like something that moves in the air.
It's fluid.
It's a presence. It's fluid. It's a presence. 9to5Mac is reporting that Apple considered, instead of Plus for the big iPhone XS, Max. So iPhone XS Max. Likely name for 6.5-inch OLED flagship. So there you go, Max. What'd you think of Max?
I don't like XS Max or 10S Max, right? Like I don't like that whole thing.
10S Max.
I have a logical problem about calling it Max because that's saying it's the most it could ever be, which is incorrect.
It's the maximum.
I really, really like the idea of just calling my phone Max. Right, because I would just call it Max. Hey, Max.
What if the X is uppercase and it's a Roman numeral, and then it becomes iPhone?
I quit everything.
It becomes iPhone Ma10.
If they do MA capital X, I'm done. That's it. You will never see me again. Oh, and Kate has pointed in the chat room. There's no way they're doing this because it sounds the same as Max.
Max and Max.
Max and Max.
Max.
There's no way. There's no way they're calling it the iPhone 10 Max. That's too confusing. That is a great
Wasn't
point.
That a video game, Max and Max?
There's no way that they would call it the Max, right? Because it sounds like Max. No way. Surely someone. It's like one of those things where they name it and they don't realize until they're presenting it. Like, oh no, we never said it out loud.
Maybe they're gonna rename the Mac the Macintosh, so the problem is fixed.
The Macintosh.
Do you want a Macintosh Book Pro?
I do.
And do you want a new iMacintosh, Steven?
I want a Macintosh
Want
Mini.
a Macintosh Pro?
Bad. Yeah, that name doesn't really seem to hit home for me, but who knows? None of these options we've talked about are good. Like, I don't like 10S. I don't think people are going to say it XS, including one of you.
No.
I don't like 10S Max. Like, I don't know what they should do but they shouldn't do any of this.
Yes, I agree with you.
They should have just called it the iPhone 11. That would have been much simpler.
Well, until we know what the iPhone is named, we're just going to set that aside. And I want to remind people and thank people for signing up for the Relay FM membership. We, the three of us, watched Pirates of Silicon Valley, not Pirates of the Caribbean. Federico showed up very confused about what movie we were doing. Pirates of Silicon Valley. Talked about it for a little while. That episode is up now. So if you're a Relay FM member, you can go check that out. If you're not, there's a link in the show notes, or you can sign up at relay.fm/connected and pick an option there on the sidebar and support the show directly. Starts at just $5 a month, and you get bonus content and a bunch of special perks. So go check that out. You can learn more about all that at relay.fm/membership. If you have signed up, thank you. Thank you very much.
We're a week away from an Apple event. We know a bunch of stuff, but we're going to do some predictions here. No prizes. This is pure, just like we say the stuff. Maybe next week we can say we were right, we can say we were wrong, or we can ignore that it ever happened, depending on how right or wrong we all ended up being. Federico, I don't want to round robin this because that would probably get really confusing because we all have like completely different numbers of predictions. So we can round robin it in category only. So Federico, why don't you just go first?
Okay. So I'm going to start with the obvious one that more than a prediction, maybe it's a hope. I really want to see new iPad Pros. I want to see new models for the 10.5 and 12.9 inch iPad Pro models. If the rumors are correct,
how confident do you feel?
I feel pretty confident. I think if Apple wants to show off new iPads, what's the best event to do it? And I think the same event where you are announcing new iPhones and new Apple Watches, I think that's the kind of spotlight that sort of helps the perception of the iPad Pro, because everybody's going to be watching this event. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to see these new iPad Pro models, even though 9to5Mac didn't find images for these specific devices. I think we're going to see them. And they're going to have the edge-to-edge design, without the home button and Face ID with multiple orientations and all of that stuff. So alongside the iPad Pro, I think we're going to see a redesigned smart keyboard, because the current one actually came out 3 years ago. And the smart keyboard hasn't changed at all since November 2015. And I really think it's time for Apple, especially because we've seen better third-party keyboards, based on Bluetooth. I think Apple could really up the competition here and make a new smart keyboard that is more durable, that has backlit keys, maybe an even better Siri integration with more, media keys and media function keys, that kind of stuff. So I
think that they would pivot to making a Bluetooth keyboard instead.
No, I don't think so. I think they want to keep using the smart connector. But
but they're just gonna up what it can do because people are starting to make better products than they make.
I think so. Yeah. I also think we're going to see some updates for the iWork suite of apps on iOS for iOS 12. I would be really surprised if Apple isn't doing anything with shortcuts for Pages and Numbers and Keynote. And by shortcuts, I mean I really think they should do system Siri shortcuts, so suggestions to reopen documents and share a document, but also direct integration with the Shortcuts app. I think there's potential to sort of extend the iWork suite of apps with some Shortcuts integration. So I really want to see that. My wild card here is that I believe the iPhone, the cheap iPhone, the LCD one, will not be called the iPhone 9, but I think we'll keep the iPhone 10/X name in some kind of variation of the name. Because I really am on, like Steve Transmith, I'm on the train of, this is the shape of this iPhone and the screen and the lack of Touch ID. I think this is the iPhone 10 brand, and I would be surprised to see the shape of an iPhone 10, but it's called iPhone 9. Because Apple made a big deal last year of announcing a phone with this shape, with this unique design, and calling it the iPhone 10 with the X as the name. So that people really identify with this kind of device, with this form factor, with this shape. And so saying, well, this is actually the iPhone 9 because it's the same one, but it's cheaper, it doesn't really fit into the, how I believe Apple marketing and branding works. Also, most people aren't gonna know what the technical difference between the iPhone, the LCD iPhone 10 that looks like an iPhone 10 but it's actually an iPhone 9. They're not gonna care about the difference between LCD and OLED. They're gonna see a cheaper iPhone 10 and they're gonna say, well, that's the iPhone 10 and now it costs not as much as last year.
So what do you think they're gonna call it?
I don't know, iPhone 10 2018.
Really?
I don't think that would be absurd. I would be really surprised if they're calling the iPhone 9. And if they do it, I mean, I'm not a marketing expert, of course, but I think I'm going to think it's confusing because why make it such a big deal last year? This unique design that only exists, in the Apple ecosystem, and you call it the iPhone 10, but it's an X, and everybody calls it the iPhone X. So people really can identify this device. Like when you pull it out of your pocket and people say, oh, well, that's the iPhone X. And now this year you come out with a new phone and you call it the iPhone 9. It's like, are you going back to are you going backwards instead of moving forward with the iPhone 10?
I mean, the name 10C is just sitting there. There's rumors that it's going to have colors. Maybe they're going to recycle that idea.
Maybe. I could see that. So I don't know. I really think it would be like a backwards decision to go back to the 9. It may happen. I'm gonna disagree with it because I'm gonna think it's confusing. But I could see actually also the counter argument of this is the entry line iPhone. It comes after the iPhone 8, so it's the iPhone 9. I think between the two options, I prefer mine because it's less confusing. Finally, I'm gonna wrap up my predictions with, of course, new watch bands because Apple pulled a bunch from the store a few weeks ago. I assume because they are preparing to announce new watch bands for the fall. They always do this. I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And
they do this device or no device, right? Like every time there's an event now, there's new bands. Because it's just a seasonal. They release bands and cases on a seasonal basis now.
Yeah. And also we mentioned this just a few minutes ago, but I think there's going to be multiple changes to the watch faces announced alongside the Series 4 Apple Watch. I don't know. So this is my question for you guys. I think there's a possibility that these new super customizable watch faces with multiple complications will be exclusive to the Series 4 because of the more powerful CPU and battery life and RAM or whatever it is. But the idea of
if the screen is bigger, it
the
has
screen is
better
bigger.
legibility.
The screen is bigger. The device is more powerful, so it can fetch data in the background more frequently. Therefore, we can have more complications. I would be surprised.
But also, irrespective of all of that, like, it doesn't need to be a technical reason, and it's perfectly valid, right?
Yeah.
Like, they have a new thing, it's software only, and they just put it on the new phones because, right? And I am not a person who has a problem with that. That you lock some software only features to hardware because, like, you can't keep doing this forever. Like, if you don't have hardware features to put into it, you have to find some reason to sell the product, and so. I would say that I reckon that one's pretty on the money. That like these new watch faces will be for the Series 4 and onwards only. That seems pretty plausible to me.
Yeah.
Is that your predictions? Is that the whole thing?
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Let's take our second break, and then we can get into mine and Steven's as well. Today's show is brought to you by Simple Contacts, an app that takes a tiresome task and makes it easy. Isn't that what we love? Apps that take things that we just don't want to do. They take frustrations away from our lives. This is what Simple Contacts does with being an easy way, the easiest way to renew your contact lens prescription. With Simple Contacts, you can reorder your contacts from anywhere in just minutes by using the app. It's as simple as that. All you need to do to begin is to complete that online self-guided vision test. It takes less than 5 minutes. You can do it from wherever you are right now. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms to renew your contact lens prescription. It's super simple. And, the summer is drawing to a close, but that doesn't mean we can't still go to the beach, or it doesn't mean that we don't still have weddings. It's still in the prime season for that stuff, or maybe a vacation. This is when contact lenses are perfect for occasions like this. So why not use Simple Contacts as your way to restock or stock up for the season? You can order your favorite contacts right from the app or from their website. They have all of the lens brands that you love, with options for astigmatism, multifocal lenses, colored lenses, and more. You can order exactly what you need. Simple Contacts vision test costs just $20. For comparison, an appointment without insurance could cost you over $200. So Simple Contacts saves you time and money as well. But I want to let you know, this is not a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam. Simple Contacts is just checking that the prescription information that you give them from your last prescription still helps you see 20/20s, and they will renew your lenses based on that prescription. They don't write new prescriptions or examine your eye health. Now, Stephen, I believe that you have taken the Simple Contacts vision test, and I wanted to know what you thought of it.
Yeah, it's super easy. You have your contacts in, and the app shows you like what you think of with the vision test, and it tells you how far away you need to be. It walks you all through it. What I liked about it is there's no second guessing that I was doing it wrong, because it tells you exactly what to do and when to do it. So I had confidence that I was doing it correctly, which is a big deal when it's just you and your phone doing a vision test alone in your office.
So when as a kid, I used to go to get my eyes tested, right? And the doctor would, like the optometrist, she would put like one of those face masks on, like the surgical like face masks that they tend to, no, like the ones they tend to wear in Japan, right? They just go over the nose and mouth. And she would say, "Oh, I have a slight cough," or "I have a slight cold." I mean, that wasn't it. She was just doing it because she doesn't want to catch my germs. But she would say it every single time you'd go in there. She's like, "I have a slight cough." And there was this one time I must have been about 14, and my mum was with me because she insisted on going to all of these things, even into my teenage years. And she'd mentioned to me beforehand, she's like, "Oh, she's going to say that she has a slight cough." So we sat down, she says, "I have a slight cough," and she put the mask on, and my mum started giggling, and I started giggling, and we both started laughing for about 10 minutes. So basically what I'm saying is you can avoid all of this awkwardness in your life by using Simple Contacts. And as a listener of this show, you can get $20 off your first order of contacts. Just go to simplecontacts.com/connected20, or you can use connected20 at checkout. That's simplecontacts.com/connected20, or simply use the code connected20 for $20 off your first order. We thank Simple Contacts for their support of this show and Relay FM. All right. I'm up next. So I want to have the same amount of confidence that Federico has in the iPad Pro, but my confidence is wavering because there isn't really any information. There's no real strong rumors. It could mean, let's go a few things here, right? It could mean that they're coming out, but they're coming out a little later on, right? So they're actually maybe not being made yet. Maybe they come out in a month. There is also, like Occam's razor would say, that if they are coming out, it's just because the supply chain doesn't really care about iPads when there are iPhones, right? So like if there's going to be part leaks, they're just leaking parts about iPhones because that's the most important thing. There are many different things it could be. I want to believe, that there's going to be iPads because I want a new iPad Pro, especially because mine is broken and I don't want to have to keep waiting. If they do this, like Federico, I believe there will be some new smart keyboard, but I also think there'll be some revisions to the Apple Pencil as well. I think it's time. I've said it before many times. I think they could make a more expensive Apple Pencil that has some function in it, that's made out of aluminium. That there are a lot of different things they could do there, and I would love to see a new Apple Pencil that has something new going on. I've wanted that for a long time, and I would love it. I don't think there's going to be any Mac announcements during this. I think if we're questioning if there's going to be iPad announcements, I don't think they will have time for Mac stuff as well. I also don't think there's going to be anything Apple TV related. I don't think anyone's questioning that, but I don't think we're going to get anything there. There's definitely no streaming service this year. It's far too early. I don't think there's going to be anything on the Mac. I think there'll either be a separate event that will include iPads if there's no iPad stuff, or they'll do products announced via press releases later on this year, maybe with some briefings and that kind of thing. I just don't see it right now for the Mac, unfortunately. I think the cheaper iPhone will be called the iPhone 9. So I'm going against Federico on this. My thinking is your second part, right? So I keep going back to this. I said it a bunch of times now, but when Apple announced the iPhone 10, they spoke about it being years ahead, right? That it was from basically a future phone. It was multiple years ahead of what they were doing with everybody else. So they went from 8 to 10, which means they have a gap, which is the 9. And logically, everything we know about this iPhone makes it seem like it's in between the 8 and the 10, right? Like it has an edge-to-edge screen and Face ID, but it has an LCD screen, not an OLED, and it has aluminium, not stainless steel, right? Like there are things that make it in the middle that I think they'll call it the iPhone 9. I don't think they'll call it the 10 something because it doesn't have what the 10 has, which is like an OLED screen and stuff like that. And I think they could start to confuse it in more ways by calling it 10 something. I think my feeling is they're more likely to call it the iPhone 9 or a non-numbered name. I don't think it's going to be the 10C because it doesn't have what the 10 has. It has only some of it. Like basically it's just Face ID and edge-to-edge screen. So that's that. I don't think they're going to call it a larger phone, the 10s Max or anything like that. I think they're going to call it the 10s Plus. I didn't necessarily think they were going to call it the Plus until the S was basically confirmed. And if they're going to go with S, they may as well go with Plus because I think that Plus is a stronger brand than S is, personally. I think it'd be weird if they kept S and didn't use Plus. I think that Face ID will be faster. This will be a second-gen Face ID, and that it will be faster. And this will either be something to do with the Face ID unit, or it will be something that the system on a chip can help them with, right? Like there'll be something that they will say that Face ID is X% faster. And if they do colors for the iPhone 9, I think they're going to do some weird case again, like the 5C case. Like, I can't imagine them introducing colors and then not doing something with the cases. So maybe they'll do cases with holes in again. Who knows? But that's my wild card.
Yeah, I think most of that makes sense. I think it's going to be iPhones and Apple Watches. I don't think we're going to see iPads next week. For all the same reasons you said, there's not a lot as far as the rumor mill.
Well, I mean, I will remind you, they spent a big chunk of time talking about the Apple TV last year. So, there was space for 3 phones and an Apple TV and an Apple Watch last year.
Yeah, and in 2015, they had all that stuff, plus the iPad Pro. Mm-hmm. I mean, if there were no Macs on the horizon, I would say the iPads will be here. But I think Macs and iPads are enough for a second event. So, honestly, like in my mind, it's like 55-45, no iPads. Like it's not, I don't feel super strongly about this, but I think I tip a little bit in the direction of no iPads. I think we're going to see the iPhone.
I think my brain feels that way, but my heart can't let go.
Yeah. Well, you smashed your iPad.
I didn't smash it as such, but it's broken.
Rage smashed it.
Well, it's like I'm not even 100% sure how it happened. I think I know. It's kind of like when Federico put that dent in his. It's like I can work out some reasons why this happened, but I didn't see it happen. So
that was mysterious.
Yep.
I think in the time we've spoken, I think I have settled on the names 10C and 10S. I think calling it the 9 when it looks like the 10 is confusing, but again, this is like a 55-45 split in my mind. Like none of these positions I hold strongly. I'm just like a little bit over the line.
I like that we spent this much time on the names because this will be the one that we'll definitely remember next week, right? To be like, you said this and I said this.
So I Federico will remember this.
I know. You're like, what are you saying? 10 something, right? You're thinking 10 something.
10 or 10 something, yeah.
All right, I'm saying 9. Yeah. Steven's saying 10C. All right, cool. We got that.
Yeah. I think the 2017 iPhone 10 goes away. I think the line will be the 2 10S phones, whatever the 10C or 9, whatever that phone is, 8, 8 Plus, 7, 7 Plus, SE. I think
you think they keep the 7 and 7 Plus as well as the 8 and 8
Well,
Plus?
that would follow in line with what they did last year.
Wow.
Right
so
now,
many
you can
phones.
go buy a 6S.
Yeah.
It is, but it's the same number of phones you can buy now. I'm not saying they should do that, but it's what they do. So I think that the iPhone 10, the SKU, the model number that we have today will not go down in price. It will simply go away like the iPhone 5 did. Remember, the 5C replaced the iPhone 5 at the discounted price. So I think something similar will happen this year. And I think that'll be it for this iPhone 10. And we'll just have the new ones. And I think that's all about price. I think they can't drop the price much on the 10 and have the margins they want. Hence the 10C or the 9 or whatever that phone is with an LCD in it. So I think that's kind of where I stand there. And I think, the colors being on the 10C fits with that idea. And, the 5C was not a big success, I think, for a lot of reasons. I think I think we talked about it on the show, I'm sure. I don't know. Were we doing the show then? I don't know. But I know writing at the time, at least, I really thought that Apple should have a sort of like mid-tier phone to hit a bunch of price points around the world. And the 5C was not that phone. The 5C was a replacement for the 5 at $100 less because the 5 was expensive to manufacture and the 5C was cheaper.
I don't imagine them ever really making that phone that.
No, they're not.
The price
and
point.
That's not. So I think that people went into the 5C with the expectation and were disappointed. This year, the expectations are different. I think they can reuse the C brand and not fail like the 5C did. So I think that it's an opportunity to bring some color and fun back into the line. And I'm all for that. I think all their products should be more colorful. Look, Jason Snell and I agree on this. Like everything should have more options. But it seems like that's only going to be true in this sort of lower level phone, which is fine.
How many colors do you think?
I think we could see. I think obviously we'll see black and white or silver or whatever, space gray and silver.
So space gray and silver, right? Then what?
And then maybe two others. So maybe like a red and a blue.
So no gold.
I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know about the gold or not. But just because it looks like that's going to be new on the flagship, maybe they don't want that to be on the lesser phone. So you bought the most expensive one if it comes in that gold finish. But who knows? Who knows? That's like a wild card. Like until maybe a day before the event, we'll see somebody leak a bunch of boxes that have all the colors on them, which will probably be what happens. But outside of that, I think that's really hard to guess. But I don't think it's going to be crazy. Like the 5C came in 5 colors. I don't know if it's going to be that many, but who knows?
That was a lot of colors.
I have a fun one for you guys. Can we also try to guess the name of the next Apple designed system on a chip? And I'm going to go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with Apple A12 Nitro.
All right, so can we just get a breakdown of what they've been called?
So starting with the A10, we had A10 Fusion, A10X Fusion, and last year A11 Bionic.
So we've had Fusion,
and
Bionic, and what was the other one? Was that it? Just Fusion and Bionic?
That's it.
So we've got Fusion, Bionic, and you think Nitro?
Yeah.
Where is that coming from?
I don't know, it just feels fast. One potential problem with Nitro is that the Safari JavaScript engine was at some point called the Nitro engine, but I think that...
Yeah, but they also make something called the Fusion Drive.
Exactly, so that shouldn't be an issue.
I don't think that matters.
Yeah.
I mean, those things, they're really just for presentations. Like, it doesn't really... and I think they just want to give it a name. Man, this is a hard one.
Go for it. Come on.
So we've got Fusion, Bionic. Oh, man. Steven, do you have any ideas?
My first thought is maybe that's what the Max name is attached to, but that's sort of dumb.
Right.
So you said Nitro. I'm going to go with, I don't know, like I want to say like Jetstream or like something like, like Sonic Boom, something fast.
Sonic could be a good one.
Sonic is good.
The A12
That's
Sonic.
Actually really good.
A12 Sonic. I like that.
See, now I don't know, right? Like, because you guys are going
A12
down...
Supersonic. That's what I'm going with. A12
All right.
Supersonic.
Because you guys are going down the speed train.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go down the speed train. Right? Like, I don't know what I should go with here. This is really difficult. I can't think of anything particularly good.
All right, think about it.
I mean, mine's terrible.
No, I like Supersonic.
Supersonic
I actually think it's a good
great.
name.
It's an Oasis song. They could use Oasis as they introduced the iPhone.
I'm really struggling with this one.
All right.
Full throttle.
A12 Bullet Train.
I don't know.
Maybe they're gonna go for something that refers to size. I don't know, something like A12 Jupiter or something.
Max would fit there.
Yeah, I still don't think they're going to use that name. I think that wouldn't have left the whiteboard, right? As soon as somebody says it, you've got to realize you can't like that. Like I know I said like Fusion is okay, but like you can't max.
I've solved it. The A12 Max will be the first ARM processor in a MacBook as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see that, right? Like I
A12
get that
Max.
for sure.
It's the Max that runs on Max. It's just Max on Max on Max.
I feel like we're all working really hard to give me some time here, but I just can't.
The chat room very, very much wants you to say A12 Bonanza.
I know why, because I had a show called Bionic and they called it Bionic, then they would call it Bonanza. Like, I get it, but like, I don't think it will be called that. So like, I would just be wasting it. I may as well come up with something new. and funny to say.
A12 Turbo. It could be another one.
Turbo is good. Like, but I don't want to say that because you just said it. Like, if I would have said it, it would have worked great, but you said it. So now I have nothing.
I'm just stealing all
have
your
nothing.
ideas.
Yeah, wait,
Okay.
exactly. I was just about to say Turbo, and then you said it. So now I can't
So
say it.
yours is just A12. A12 blank.
There is no name.
All right.
I have nothing.
We have some real-time follow-up to close out this section. On September 12th, 2013, it's 5 years ago, the 5th anniversary of my website. And we recorded the prompt episode 13. S is for fingerprint. And
Good
we
title.
spoke.
That's a good title.
It's a great
It is a
title.
good title.
See, that S was for something, right? Obviously, the S was always standing for something because we were
Well,
trying to come up with what it stood
Was
for.
about Touch ID, therefore fingerprint. Oh.
Security, man. S is for security.
The day after Apple's 2013 iPhone event, the prompt co-host discussed the keynote, iPhone 5C, the iPhone 5S, and more. The first link in that show notes, that show notes for that episode, is a link to Federico Vitici's Introducing Writing on the iPad, Text to Automation with Editorial
Oh my
Book.
God. Wow.
So that's a real blast from the past. I have also put in the show notes, I did a video about the iPhone 5C. So if you're not familiar with that phone, go watch that video. And a post from my site from 5 years ago talking about how people got the iPhone 5C wrong.
All right. Well, yeah. I'm just looking up synonyms for the word bionic. One potential idea could be A12 godlike. A12 extraordinary. I could see that.
I'm now looking at synonyms for speed. What about A12 precipitation? I'm not 100% sure why that's a synonym for speed.
What about A12 omnipotent?
I got it. I'm just going to go with this because I have nothing else. A12 momentum. That's what I'm going to go with.
Ooh. Okay.
Kind of sporty. I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think they're going to call it that, but it's the only half-decent name I can come up with.
Okay.
I'm really annoyed at myself now because Kate just came up with a great one, A12 Canon, right? That it should be called the Canon.
So I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. So if that's the name, then Kate gets that right.
Yep. And Kate's the real winner here. Let's be honest.
Can you see Phil Schiller on stage saying, and with our all new powerful A12 Canon CPU?
We're blasting down the competition
Oh my God.
with the Canon.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's good.
Right? Come on.
Sure.
We can do this.
Sure.
No.
Talking about predictions, this year we have made a lot of predictions.
Too many.
Right? Many categories of predictions. And I think it's safe to say that we can probably assume that the majority of these predictions
will be right.
if they're going to happen in 2018, they're going to happen next week, right? With what's left.
Or the October event that Federico doesn't
That's
believe
why
in.
I said the majority. So the majority of them will probably happen within a week from now. So we should probably refresh everybody's mind on what we've predicted. And even then potentially show how our predictions we've just made clashed against the predictions that we made in January. So we're going to do that after we take our final break for today's show and thank Linode for their support. With Linode, you will have access to a suite of powerful hosting options. They have prices starting at just $5 a month, and then you can be up and running with your own virtual server in the Linode cloud in just under a minute. Linode has hundreds of thousands of customers who are all serviced by their friendly 24/7 support team. You can email them, call them, or even chat over IRC in the Linode community. They know how important it is to get the help that you want, and they also have a suite of amazing guides and support documentation to give you a reference for when you need it. Linode's intuitive control panel will allow you to deploy, boot, resize, snapshot, clone your virtual servers in just a few clicks even. And they also feature two-factor authentication to keep you safe. Linode has an amazing, fantastic, wonderful set of pricing options available to you as well. They have plans that start at just $5 a month, and that will get you a gigabyte of RAM. But if you want to go big, you can get plans that have 16 gigabytes of RAM or more. It's really wild stuff you can do over there. As a listener of this show, you can sign up right now at linode.com/connected, and you'll be supporting us and also getting yourself $20 towards any Linode plan. And if you sign up for the 1 gigabyte of RAM plan, that is 4 free months. And with a 7-day money-back guarantee, there's nothing to lose. So go to linode.com/connected to learn more, sign up, and take advantage of that $20 credit. Or you can use the promo code CONNECTED2018 at checkout. Our thanks to Linode for their support of this show and Relay FM. Do we have some more real-time follow-up? Is that what's happening now? Did we just sprinkle follow-up throughout the entire episode instead of doing it at the beginning?
I don't know. Steve Trout-Smith guessed Apple A12 Plasma. It's pretty good.
I'm trying to open tweets in Safari, but it says the server understood the request, but is refusing to fulfill it.
Wow.
Thanks for nothing, server. I mean, jeez.
The server's getting a little bit big for his britches over there, I think.
Like, it understood, but it just doesn't care. I mean, all right. Cool. Okay.
Wow. That's pretty intense.
Just rough, server. Come on.
All right. So what I have done, okay, I've gone through our predictions, and I've pulled out the predictions that are most likely to be fulfilled in a September event. And I've also removed the predictions that were either considered right or wrong by now, so we can touch on those later on in the year when we review our predictions and make our new ones, right? So, these were from the classification of overall yearly predictions. So, I have a couple here. That there will be a bigger iPhone 10 style phone, but it will not have an OLED screen. Feeling pretty good about that one, guys. I also picked an Apple Watch with an always-on display. That could still happen, right? We don't know that. That could still happen. We don't know from that image or otherwise. You know, what do you think about an always-on display for the Apple Watch? Do you think that's still a possibility?
I don't know. I don't think so.
At some point, they've got to do that. At some point, right?
Yes, but I don't know. It just feels too soon still. I don't know. Not sure.
Other watch companies, companies do it. You know, Google Watches do it.
I don't know. It could be.
It's an OLED screen after all. It's kind of the point. But Apple still haven't done anything with always on. I will ask you both. Do you think sleep tracking is going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one, I think so. Yeah.
Because that's a software thing ultimately, right? They don't need to put any new sensors in for that, and just make sure the battery's good. Federico, you said you predicted that the streaming service will be announced as Apple Video. Yeah. It will have 1 to 2 months free and bundled with Apple Music.
Man,
how do you feel about that one?
That was wrong. It's not going to be called Apple
It's going to happen.
It's gonna happen.
I feel like all of the particulars about that are right, but 2019,
and it's going to be called Apple TV. I agree with Jason Snell. The name is going to be Apple
think
TV.
Apple TV?
Yeah. Apple Video feels like, I don't know, home movies.
In your defense, right? Like a lot of what we now know about the streaming service was not clear then.
Yeah.
And now when you look at it and you see the slate of products, like that slate of shows that they have, you can be like, okay, they need some time.
Yeah.
But we didn't know like the pure breadth that they were working on when you picked that in January.
Yeah.
Steven, you said no new iPad mini. Feeling pretty good about that one, I think. That would be the real shocker next week, I think.
Yeah.
And like, oh, we heard you like the mini, right? Mini? Everyone wants a mini? Here's the iPad mini. That's what you were looking for when you said mini. You didn't want the Mac, right? It was the iPad. I picked new Apple Pencil with a button of some kind, maybe aluminium. So that's, who knows. Federico went for a new smart keyboard with new material, backlit, and a dedicated Siri key.
Yes.
You got very particular in that one against our recommendations, but you decided you wanted to be really particular. Steven, you said iPod Touch update.
Why?
These were, I should
still
note,
believe.
these last three, there's no points assigned to those, but they were predictions that we made.
We live in a world where not only did the Airport Express get AirPlay 2 support, but today Apple updated the Airport Utility to support the iPhone 10 screen. Literally anything is possible.
Yeah, but they aren't new hardware products.
You just got to slap the A10 in there and call
so
it a
they
day.
were our overall yearly predictions. Air power predictions. We made these just a couple of weeks ago. I will just run these through again because it's probably going to happen if it's ever going to happen. Federico says that it will be released before the iPhone. So you have like 6 days at this point. How are you feeling about that?
I think it's all in the next 6 days. It's all.
You're still holding out?
I'm putting on the line for the next 6 days. It's
Going
gonna
all in.
it's gonna
All right.
happen. I'm sure. Yeah, totally.
And both me and Steven say after the iPhone at some point. And then we made some audio device predictions. Now, we said by the end of 2019 for these, so I removed some of the more, like, the big ones, like the over-the-ear headphones. We're not going to talk about that right now because I don't think that's happening this year. So I said AirPods to gain more controls via touch actions. I think we're going to see AirPods version 2 next week, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think this might be one of those things. Steven wants, as was predicted, at least one more color option in the AirPods.
Mm-hmm.
Federico thinks that the AirPods line will be split in two and that there will be a base version that gets a small price drop.
Yeah, and this Federico guy is smart. I like that.
I don't think that's going to happen. He's a smart guy, but I think that if they...
By the end of 2019...
I know you
might
said
happen.
that, right? But you know, but we can look at that part in 2019, but I don't think that's happening this year. Steven thinks there'll be a HomePod price drop. I think that's still going to happen. I don't know when. I believe that Apple will create some kind of noise cancellation technology. Again, I still think that's going to happen, but that might be 2019. And Steven thinks there will be some incorporation of Apple News into all of this. Maybe a new branding of short daily news podcasts that comes along with some headphone changes.
Just something. I mean, they put Apple News everywhere else, and people like news on the HomePod. So, just a better way to manage that stuff.
So
that's sort
it.
of broad.
That's our prediction. So you can all write those down. And then we'll be able to look back on some of these in the weeks to come and realize how right or wrong we were. But there's still some possibilities there for us, but I thought it was just worth highlighting those as we get into what could be the final Apple event of the year and where all of the products get released. So, programming note, next week we will be recording and publishing our episode on Thursday, so the day after the Apple event, because there's so much going on and things get moved around. And as always, we like to have at least a day to think. Apple usually does their events on Tuesdays, but they're not. This time they're doing it on a Wednesday. So we're moving our show on a Thursday. We'll show you, Apple. You think you can get us? You're not going to get us. We'll just move it, right? I think that's our attitude for this. Sure, everyone's in agreement with me. That's great. Everyone agreed. I take your silence as agreeing. Steven, wrap up the show.
I'm going to wrap up the show now. This is where the show is wrapped up. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Squarespace, Simple Contacts, and Linode. But if you want to go find out more about the stuff we talked about, if you've been under a rock and haven't seen these iPhone leaks, or you just want to maybe read a lot more about the iPhone 5C, there's links in the show notes in your podcast player or on the website, relay.fm/connected/208. While you're there, you can get in touch via email, or you can find us on Twitter. You can find Mike as IMYKE, and Mike is the host of a bunch of other shows here at relay.fm. You can follow Federico at VITICCI, and he is the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. And there'll be an iOS 12 review coming out there on that site here in the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. So from what I've seen of it, it is very good. And you can follow me. I'm on Twitter as ISMH, and I write 512pixels.net and host the 512pixels YouTube channel. And until next week, guys, a busy week. So I guess until then, say goodbye.
Cheerio.
Arrivederci.
Adios.